In this video, I'm going to show you how to make pop drum and bass. This is going to be a really in-depth video, and we also have a special guest, Kay Junto, joining us later on to go through some of the intro and the vocals. So make sure to smash that like button. Let's start with the drums. So popular drum and bass is typically around 170 to 180 BPM. And we're picking a BPM of 176 for this track. Now let's look at the drums first. I have got what you call a fake drop, and then the drums come in later on. So on this 4-bar loop, we're going to go through the last 2 bars first, so I can show you the overall pattern, and then we're going to show you what I did for the first 2 bars. So let's start with the kick drum. So we've got the first kick drum here that sounds like this, and this is called a kick drum top. So it's just like the high end of the kick to layer with the main kick drum, which sounds like this. Both of them together sound like this. And then all we've done is put them at the start of each bar. And then what you can do is just copy these and you go to the middle between both of them and across halfway between bar 3 and 4, and then just paste them in like that. And same here, and that creates that drum and bass pattern that pretty much all popular drum and bass tracks make. Just like that. So now the kick's done, I can put that away in its kick group, and let's have a look at the snare. So again, we've layered the snare. We've used a snare that sounds like this, and a snare that sounds like this. So let's copy these both across, and these are just going to run every 2nd bar and 4th bar, just like this. So we get something that sounds like this. Now we need some percussion elements to keep it interesting. So we've got a doubled up hi-hat as well. As you can see, there's a pattern going here of doubling everything up to make it sound more fat. And we're just going to put this in between. So we're going to put one here and we're going to put one here. And it just gives this really cool pattern. And now we can add some extra perk elements in. So just after the 2nd and 4th hat of the 4 bars, we can put this little percussion, which sounds like this. And it gives it a bit more groove. And then on top of that, we have found a drum loop. And I believe this was just on Splice, and this gives it even more groove. We've just pasted that across for each 2 bars. And then you get this kind of upbeat style drum and bass drums. And then what we've done for the first 2 bars is just copied this kick across to here, this snare across to here, and these hi-hats across to here. And we haven't copied any of these percussion elements here. And then we've got a kick drum on the first beat as well, so it sounds something like this. We've also copied the front of this bit there as well, as you can see. And there you have the basis of your drums. So then you can copy the 2nd bar and just paste it across. And then every now and then, so at the end of this 8 bars here, we've made a little transition section, which sounds like this. Just adding like little break patterns and more percussion and the snare as well. And we've just repeated that every 8 bars to make sure the drums keep moving. Let me know in the comments if this is how you do your drums, or if there's any other little techniques that you use that you think could be helpful for anyone else watching. It'd be great to see how you guys do your drums as well. And next, let's have a look at the bass. So this bass is just a kind of rolling / respace style heavy bass that just sounds absolutely crazy. I'll play it just on its own for you. And then, of course, we've put a sub underneath it as well, which adds to the thickness of it all. So let's have a look at the respace first. This serum preset is actually really simple. It's just analog basic MCB on -2, and then we've got the unison on 4, the detune on 0.35, and then the level turned up to max. And we've got this filter on the side on MG low 12 with the cutoff on 667 Hertz. And then we've just got the fat turned up to a little bit and the drive and the res turned off. And then we also have this LFO going into this chorus pitch. So you can drag it into here, and this is on 19. And this can just affect the pitch a little bit when you play the notes, but it doesn't really do that much. So you can just leave that off if you want. For the post-processing, we've got a distortion on diode 1 with the drive on 84% and the mix on 74%, and then we've got a multi-band compressor turned on, and these turned up a little bit, the mix on 100%, and then the gain turned up to 13. This is what it sounds like without any of them, and then I'll add them in one by one so you can hear. So it's just a really simple, modified sound, distorted and compressed like crazy to give you that overall gritty bass underneath your drums. And then we just have some really basic sweeps, risers, down filters, impacts for the effects. Now, if you want to learn how to make music like this, I've got a free music production workshop. There's a link down below. You just click it and then you can sign up and watch it completely free. Now let's go through the instruments and the vocals. And I've got special guest Kay Junto here to go through it with us.
All right, hey guys. Something interesting about this song is we wrote this in the key of F minor, and we wanted to figure out how we can fit an A flat major vocal with an F minor key. So we did something kind of wonky where we flip-flopped between the two keys where they shared notes, which is like pretty cool. So like I don't really understand music theory that well. I just kind of looked up like what chords fall within F minor and A flat major. Because I saw that they were relative majors and minors. And you don't need to like go into all this music theory detail, but the verse uses a B flat minor seventh, which is just a B flat with the extra tail chord on it, an E flat major seventh, and an A flat minor seventh. These fall within the F minor key, but yet they also fall within an A flat major key, which is actually pretty cool.
So the instruments and the vocals complement each other and don't sound out of key.
Right. The first thing that I worked on with this is actually the pad. So like here are the notes. It's basically just the three chords that I explained in the beginning, and it sounds like this. So this repeats on throughout the intro and the build. What it is a serum patch that I found. I just watched a YouTube tutorial, and it's just a basic saw wave with 16 voices of unison with some FX on it. And it just sounds really pretty. So it kind of like gave our song the start to what it needed. The second element that I layered on top was actually this piano clip, which is basically just a variation of the same chords that I explained in the pads, but instead of it being chords, I kind of like arpeggiated some of it and then had chords to then arpeggiate to kind of give it that accent on top of the pad. So it sounds like this. It's very bubbly sounding, which is really nice. And basically all this is a serum patch that I found off of Splice, and you can find it if you'd like to use it in any of your songs. It's called the Arcando Kit 4 Loop Melody Synth. It's a really nice sounding patch. And then the last element really that I used in the intro is this atmosphere. It's just another pad, but this pad has a lot more space. So it sounds kind of like this. And this is just kind of hitting only the root notes of the chords from this first pad that I start out with. So they're all hitting the same notes, they're just hitting it in different ways, which is kind of nice. And this patch is another atmosphere patch that I found off Splice. So if you'd like to use it, go ahead. And then the last element of our instruments in like kind of like the intro part that goes more into the build is this I don't know patch. I don't know why I named it that, but it's just hitting the root notes of the same chords as well. And it sounds like this.
Is that like the low end?
Yeah, it sounds like it's a low end. I think I just threw it in there to give it more body because it was lacking that body initially.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is also just another patch that I found off of Splice. It's a epic pad, apparently. But I mean, like all together, especially in here, it kind of just fell together once I threw in the low end. So sounds like this. So it just gels really nicely. In the build, it's basically all the same instruments except we added this heavenly piano patch. This is just doing the same arpeggiation as that piano pack, but the difference is we just used a different patch. So this patch is called Keys Heaven, which is from a Moon Boy pack that we got, and it sounds like this. It just kind of opened up a little bit more space rather than having this playing throughout. And so that's why I decided to use this instead as a changeup. And it's not really too noticeable, but it cuts through the mix a lot better than this pluck, especially when we have FX and other effects to kind of build up that build. So altogether, the build kind of sounds like this. We found this, and it's just a wet vocal. We're not doing too much processing here because this vocal sounded pretty good out the gate. But the way that it was kind of laid out was like the structure was it had a beginning, then it had a hook, and then it kind of went into like this chorus. And so we knew that this hook was very catchy and it kind of just sat in the chords that we had nicely. But the challenging part about all this was figuring out how to get the chords to kind of sit on top of all the instruments that were playing in the drop. So Arknate actually did a really good job of making these chops here. So it doesn't sound too repetitive, yet it still had that character in the body that we wanted in like a pop song, which is really nice. Once the intro kind of goes through, it goes into this hook. Here's what the intro sounds like. And then it kind of molds into a second verse and then into like the hook, which is really catchy. So the hook sounds like this. So then we have this drop here. This is where Arknate really did some magic because these chops. It was probably the most difficult part of the song with the vocals because we need to figure out how to get it to not sound repetitive, like I said, but still keep it interesting enough. Otherwise, it just sounded too empty.
For the transition from the build up to the drop, we really wanted to make sure that that was like the most catchy part of the whole track because that's the bit that people focus on the most. And if we could perfect that bit, then we could create like something that people would remember and then come back to and listen to again.
What Arknate's talking about is actually this part where it's super catchy, and he just wanted to keep that level of like the hook in the forefront of like the audience's mind. That's how like he came up with this great vocal chop. So it actually sounds like this. So before he did this vocal chop, it actually would have just hit this second part twice. But he did a really good job of like really keeping on that catchy hook here. So you can see how like just dynamic chops like that really can make a song.
And tracks like this, you have to keep the vocals going. You can't really just like cut them out for the first part of the drop because it loses so much energy. So you got to keep that in mind as well. Don't just like put the drop in and then bring the vocals in later on for these kind of tracks.
Before we even found the vocal, like the vocal was the last thing that we had pretty much. And this really is what makes this song, right?
Blood, sweat, and tears went into finding that vocal.
Many hours of scouring, but you know, in the end, we're very happy with the results. So this is also streaming on all major platforms. So if you haven't had the chance, go check it out.
It's called You're the Reason. Yeah, link in the description if you want to go check it out. Now that the track is complete, let's listen to the final product.
Tossing, turning, up all night, fire burning. I miss the way that it felt. Now we ain't speaking, I'll watch you leaving. Sometimes it still hurts like hell. 'Cause you got me so high, and you left me so low. Now I stay out all night, 'cause I can't go home. And you're the reason why. You're the reason
that is the track complete. If you enjoyed, please smash that like button, it'll mean a lot. Also, if you have any video suggestion ideas, leave them in the comments below and I'll be sure to make a video on your suggestions. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all in the next one.